Now, we recently brought you the cracking story, exclusive story from Jonathan Lee about shameful practices in the Australian superannuation retirement sector. The biggest player, AustralianSuper, was forced to apologise to two widows who told Sky News the process of withdrawing their dead husband's money was dragged out for months, probably to drive up company profits. While the claim was denied by the superannuation fund, more victims are now coming forward, exposing unethical practices which they say takes advantage of grieving families. And as Jonathan Lee reports again here, there are now calls for a Senate inquiry to expose companies acting as a law unto themselves.
The 2nd of November is when we called.
Susan and Neville Buckley kept detailed notes as they underwent the harrowing process of retrieving their dead son's super for a retirement he would never get to see.
It's been quite a journey, and I hope no one ever has to go through what we did with this company.
Heath died in a road accident last October. The parents expected the process of withdrawing his savings from AustralianSuper, the nation's biggest retirement fund, would be procedural, but they were left completing documents in an ad hoc fashion, they say, as the process was strung out for months.
We assumed it would take some time, but we thought weeks perhaps, but it just dragged on. And then, you know, once we got into the new year and there was these huge silences, it sort of felt like we were being purposely ignored, because Sue made so many and sat on that phone for so long that the battery would run flat in it. We felt at that stage that we were being deliberately stalled.
When I started trying to make contact again, it was sometime in March, and I remember writing in an email, "We have heard nothing from you since the 21st of December. That's the last correspondence we've had."
1 week became 24 weeks. That's 6 long months. The Buckleys believe, as others had previously alleged to Sky News, that their case was being handled slowly to aid the company's bottom line.
Let's just drag this on for as long as we can, you know, and let's ignore you and just see if you'll go away.
Exhausted, Susan let loose on Facebook. She credits that with bringing about a resolution.
We were trying to manage grief and deal with these people.
Heather Gray is the lead ombudsman from the Australian Financial Complaints Authority. It was set up in the wake of the Hayne Royal Commission. It shares this office tower in Melbourne with CBUS and AustralianSuper.
So we've actually seen that over the past year, complaints around those delay issues have doubled, more than doubled. And we're also seeing that whereas a year ago we weren't seeing that many complaints about delays with payment out of death benefits from superannuation funds, we've seen those complaints more than treble.
And as we discovered, nightmare stories are common.
It's really hard to explain, I guess, because it's such a simple process, and every time that I rang, several calls, I was just met with this no.
Just lie after lie after lie.
You know, it was quite distressing. Things that we were told were, what's the hurry? Why can't you just wait? And it was just like, in my opinion, my son worked really hard and he set up these benefits, you know, should something ever happen to him. And pretty much we've had to battle our way through.
I can actually start processing that. My husband's gone. He's not coming back. And I shouldn't have to wait 7 months to come to this point.
Well, the superannuation system is based on the idea that people are disengaged, and the super funds like that idea because they want to keep on collecting people's money. They like to clip the ticket and they don't want people to know too much about it.
Liberal Senator Andrew Bragg is the chair of Parliament's Economics Reference Committee. He's now calling for a Senate inquiry to shine a light on the super and insurance sectors, to show where the money goes and bring about minimum standards for policy holders, believing big super companies have become a law unto themselves.
So the unions benefit greatly from the super funds. That is one of the reasons why Labor is so committed to super, because they receive enormous distributions from the super funds and from the unions, of course.
Sky News has found Aussies struggling with call centres are heading online to vent frustrations on the consumer website productreview.com.au. AustralianSuper has racked up nearly 1,000 reviews. 86% gave the fund just 1 star. CBUS is also heavily criticised, with 85% of contributors also giving the union fund the lowest possible rating. And while Host Plus saw a total score of 1.5 stars, the widespread criticisms around delays, red tape and missing documents is not universal, with Superfund Hester mostly praised, the fund receiving the maximum 5 stars in 73% of reviews left on the site. Fed up, this week the official financial watchdog ASIC announced it's suing AustralianSuper over its failure to consolidate the accounts of 90,000 members, charging them multiple fees. While the fund has repaid those members, any financial penalty could ultimately end up being footed by policyholders, weakening returns. The Buckleys say when they eventually got their money, it was dumped in an account, an allegation Sky News has also heard from others.
It's just disrespectful to just do that. It was like they were brushing us aside, saying, okay, here's your money, just go away and shut up, pretty much.
In a statement, AustralianSuper says its handling of the Buckleys case is not acceptable and we unreservedly apologise for any distress caused, claiming since February the fund has more than doubled the size of its team. We would never intentionally delay payments for any reason, it says. The family, though, backs an inquiry.
It's hard to say what it would achieve in the long term, but it might put a light on the way they operate their business, you know, because maybe there's a whole another layer of customers that didn't complain, never came forward and just said, bugger it.
Their grief, written up, but not forgotten.